Lesson 80. Here we go. After today, you are 2/3 of the way finished with this entire book. That's going to be awesome. Okay. All right. Let's do No, that's wrong. Ratio puzzles. Okay. That sounds a little more friendly there. Okay. All right. Well, let's look at this. Let's kind of think about this together. The ratio of apples to banana was 3-2. So the ratio of, I'm just going to write this, apples to bananas, that was 3-2. In other words, for every 2 bananas, there were 3 apples. Now that doesn't mean there were 5 pieces of fruit altogether, right? That just means the broken down fraction part. There could have been 300 apples and 200 bananas, right? If you had 300 apples to 200 bananas, that'd still be 3-2, right? If you were to break down the fraction, correct? Okay. Could be 30-20. Could be, some other number. Doesn't mean there's exactly 3 apples and 2 bananas. No, that's just the broken down, the ratio, all right? If there were 24 apples, how many bananas were there? Okay, well, that makes things a little simpler. Okay, we know how many apples there were, how many bananas were there. And this is what they say scale factor is. You can call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter. All you're saying is this. Okay, the apple part, that's the 3, right? Okay, we know there were actually 24 apples. Okay, that's the real number. How many bananas were there? Well, we know that the 2, that kind of compares to bananas, but we don't know the answer here. Well, it's just what they call scale factor, is they go, okay, well, the ratio was 3-2. The 3, what do you do to that to get to 24? And the answer is you multiply it by 8, right? Well, if you're going to do that to the top, these are almost like parts of fractions. But then the bananas, you do exactly the same thing you did to the apples. There you go. If you multiply the 3 by 8, then you're going to multiply the 2 by 8, which means there are 2 times 8 or 16 bananas. That's all there is to it. That's all the scale factor is. It's almost like reducing fractions or comparing fractions, right? 3/2 is the same thing as 24/16, or 3 divided by 2. Did I mention the fact that all fractions were division? Oh, okay. 3 divided by 2 is the same thing as 24 divided by 16. It's both 1.5, right? So that's it. You just take the 3. What do I do to it to get 24? I get multiplied by 8. Okay, then I do the same thing to the other side of the fraction, and you're done. Okay, let's talk about a very common medical issue that many of us face as homeschoolers. In the doctor's office, the ratio of leeches to needles was 2-5. I'm sure your doctor sometimes even uses the leeches to use the needle. No, okay. I'm kind of a weird doctor. Anyway. All right. If there were 30 leeches in the doctor's office, how many needles were there? Okay. Well, let's set up a little ratio. Leeches to needles. Okay. So that's going to be 2-5. Would you rather face 2 leeches or 5 needles? Don't answer that. Okay, anyway. Okay. Well, let's do another one. There were 30 leeches. Yup. Okay, well, how many needles were there? All right. Okay, well, let's figure it out. What do you do to 2 to get to 30? Well, you multiply it by something, obviously. What do you multiply it by? If you're not sure, just divide 30 by 2. And the answer is 15. You multiply by 15. That's the scale factor, whatever. Okay. Then you're going to have to do exactly the same thing to the 5. 5 times 15, we'll see, 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 5 is 25, so that's going to be 50 plus 25, or 75. There we go. So nothing to me is more comforting than going into a doctor's office and seeing 30 leeches and 75 needles. In fact, that could be like you go to a doctor's office. Here's the doctor's office, but instead of having like a little, like on a barber shop, they have that little pole that has like the like this. On this would be much better. You could have all these kind of like leeches, and little leeches kind of like dripping and stuff like that, and a couple of nice little needles and stuff like that. The ones that my doctor used when I was a kid, I think, were about that long. So anyway, there you go. Okay. All right, let's try the practice problems on 80 and see what you get, and pause it and give them a whirl and come on back when you're done. Okay, well, let's take a look at problem set 80. The practice problem, the ratio of boys to girls in the theater was 6 to 5. There were 60 girls. How many boys were there? Well, 50, right? In other words, this is the ratio, 6 to 5. And it says there were 60 girls. How many boys were there? Well, you just multiplied by 10, right? And then you multiply 5 by 10. There you go. Okay? Pause it and try B. Ants to flies was 8 to 3. 24 flies, there must be 9 ants, right? Ants to flies, that's 8 to 3. And they said there were 24 flies. How many ants are there going to be? Well, 8 times what is 24? 3. 3 times 3? 9. There we go. Okay. Deep breath. After today, just think about the fact that you're 2/3 of the way finished with the whole book, which I think is like 10% or something. I don't know my math very well. Okay. Have a great day. Get a ton of these right, as many as you can, and do math the very first part of the day, and then you can have the rest of the day to do your other stuff. So anyway, all right. See you guys next time. Take care.